really happy because in Pune and Mumbai, we tried. There is no much enthusiasm for the lecture series nowadays. In the area of media, TV, and very complex life, running after the time, people are shrinking. But I am really congratulate you all. So there are very distinguished people here who have come in a good number to listen a very serious subject like this. After this, see, I have written around 17 books and they are all published. Most of them are in Marathi. I am a novelist too. But no other book has given me this much of opportunity to relate to the people like this book has given. And I was deciding in what could be the flow of my oration today. But the journalists are very sharp people. And one of the TV interviewers asked me, why you, why now, and what for? Which he began the interview by these three questions. Why you, why now, and what for? I think I have got the logical chain to describe about this book. First of all, I will have to tell about myself a little, because otherwise the context of dissenting diagnosis will not be really clear. I was, in 1984, I passed my medical MD Gynae from Grand Medical College, Mumbai. Right from the 9th standard, I had decided to be a doctor and go to the village. After reading the biography of Albert Schweitzer, he was a missionary in Africa and it was a very inspiring book for me. And I did that. I came in contact with Baba Amte, one of the very social noted activists, and I got inspiration from him also. So I and my anesthetist wife Jyoti, we decided, actually we married on this point, that we both will go in an area where there is no gynecologist. And I began my career not far from Telangana. It is across Adilabad. The place is Kinwat. It is a tribal district in Maharashtra. But I have decided wrongly or rightly now, I have no opinion about that. I am happy what I have decided. But I decided that I will not join any charitable institution. I will do my own profession, my own entrepreneurship, and I will earn modestly, but I will do on my own. The whole life has taken turn from that particular decision. Because for the setting the operation theatre at Kilwat, I had to take the same amount of money, that is 90,000 rupees in those days, for which even the person in Hyderabad would have taken. I had interest rate same 18%, whether I practice at Kilwat or in Mumbai. So the health policies started shaping my life. I never knew that. And then in Kilwat, I charge 3 rupees for consultation and 300 rupees for cesarean. Now Ajay Gandhi was not required to tell me that your business will go worse. It was. This was the writing on the wall. But then it was not sustainable unless I have changed my strategy. Because there the commercialization was at the height. Because the ignorance of the people were at the height. I saw it first time. Then I withdrew. And I resettled at Lasalgaon, which is small town in district Nashik, which is famous for onion. And in 60-kilometer radius, there was no gynecologist. Normally the patient who is obstructed, she has to be taken to Nashik, 67 kilometers away. And I went there and settled my practice. I ran a small hospital, 8-bed hospital, with the modest charges. Now I don't know how I survived, but I survived. I had a middle class life, not a higher middle class, but middle class life. But I charged, 10 years back, I charged 6,000 rupees, 7,000 rupees, maximum 8,000 rupees for cesarean section inclusive of anesthesia and medicine. But still I survived. What I want to tell you that I survived. Those 8,000 maybe 15,000 today. I took 1,000 rupees for delivery and 500 rupees for medical termination of pregnancy. But I survived. But still the pain in my heart was that I could not help all people. Nearly 30% of the population had even not that money to give me, and I could not operate or conduct the delivery, but delivery sometimes I did, whatever patient gives me. But I fought, and I went there and fought. Because there was no blood, no physician, no pediatrician, no help. And it was a challenge. That was the adrenaline for which I went to the rural area, and I loved my practice. Means I conducted deliveries of 2 HB. Means it was so low that patient can die instantaneously. She has no backup for even a small bleeding. I had to, because she had come with full dilated cervix to me, and there were only 2 options: either let her deliver on the road or I should deliver. So we did it. I operated on uterine rupture. It ruptured in front of me, and I had to operate with 6 gram hemoglobin, no blood available. Money was not the problem. Whatever patient gave in this situation, I never negotiated. Because she cannot be transferred to Nashik. And believe you, this joy of medicine which I had got, which I had seen Dr. Prakash Amte at Hemalkasa is still getting, is unbelievably divine. Means no amount of money in the world can match that. No amount. I am operating on ruptured uterus. I am saving the mother as well as the baby. The day she walks out of my hospital, my day is done. And that is and was the inspiration of medical career. Till 20 years back, till 30 years back, it was. Unfortunately, the second half of my 20 years, which changed, I saw the change. This happened in 1990s, when the whole globalization took place, technology took place, and everything changed, not only medicine, every sector of life changed. But the medicine changed for the worse. And now the money was put in to get the money. I built my hospital, took loan. Why did I took the loan? Because I wanted to practice. I wanted to have that divine pleasure. But now the focus changed, and people started pouring in money because it was one of the best return industry. So the profit, the exorbitant profit was the motive. Slowly everything changed, and all were party to it. Individual doctors were tempted, multi-speciality hospitals tempted, corporate hospitals, everybody. There is nothing like individual doctors are much better than corporate, or corporate are much better than individual. But though the possibility of individual doctors to be ethical is much more, because the decision is in her hand. I will come to that later. But then that particular picture changed, and the worst calamity was, the worst culprit was the relationship between the doctor and the patient. The same patients who were believing in me that you do whatever, even if the patient dies, we are ready. Those were the words which were my base, on which I stood and I performed. They were not on the lips of the patient. Patients are also becoming a medical consumerist. Everything is changing. And then the maja tha, that when I had to look over my shoulder to do the cesarean with the hemoglobin 8 gram or lesser, means the very purpose for which I went there was not serving. People, PRO started, I will elaborate on the malpractices when I discuss the book. But they all, I experienced all the malpractices which these 78 doctors told. Nothing was new to me. But everything, every day I fought. And it was a very frustrating battle because I was gradually isolated. I was that mad person among the wise people who was actually obstructionist for their aspirations. So there was a hatred, there was anger, and there were the instigations and lots of things. So it was become a very brutal matter, survival matter for me. Though by that time there was established practice with a faithful people, but the atmosphere changed rapidly. And then I decided call that one more gynecologist came in the area, and I said, now for 20 years I had done my job. Now I will put my shoes down. And I disposed everything. I and wife shifted to Pune. And I decided that I will do something else. Because in Pune there are 100 gynecologists, 1,000 gynecologists. So I was not needed. Then I opted for NGO. I worked in Bill Gates Foundation's Awan project for sex workers and homosexuals. I have written a novel in Marathi on that experience. And later I shipped to Sati. I am addressing about why you. The first question, why you? This book, why you have written. This was my baggage. This was my life. I took it to Sati. And Sati was working for 15 years in the health policy issues. We are working in the public health sector. We are the nodal agency for the state. In 23 talukas, we are empowering people to monitor public health care system. We are improving the public health care system. And after I joined Sati, naturally, I took the baton of private sector accountability. That was my area of interest, my area of life. And with all the experiences from the field level, from the tribal convert to Lasalgaon, I brought all those pains and agonies and frustrations and a struggle. And then we went into private sector accountability. And then one fine day, this book was a chance of an accident. Means this was not thought of. It was not, come on, I will give this, write this book, nothing. In the Sati team, we were over the lunch, we were discussing many matters, and that day one person had come and told us her narrative about how she was exploited in the private sector, and the discussion was that. Then one person told, come on, now as an NGO, we should collect the story of the patients and publish it. It is also a thing to be done. But then I exclaim that why only patients? Even the ethical doctors are feeling suffocated. We should document their suffocation. It was very surprising for everybody except me, because what I wrote in the book is the common talk among the ethical doctors for last 30 years. What they have told you, they were discussing in every meeting, because no meeting passed without that, because everybody is frustrated. So I was knowing that they are going to tell, because they want to tell. And then I took the challenge, and I started with my sir. He is Dr. Vijay Ajgaonkar. He is a diabetologist, a top diabetologist, senior, now he must be 85 plus, and he was my sir. And I knew that he will tell me. And he gave a full-length interview, and such a hard-hitting interview. We have kept it as a full interview in the book. And I began with my friends, and then snowball effect happened, and all these ethical, we knew ethical. Now the questions come to me, how can you be selective? I said, I can be selective. I know who is ethical and who is not. Medical fraternity knows. They know among themselves who is doing unethical practice and non-ethical. And we knew, and I knew. And these people were so frustrated, they were ready to talk to me. I had a typical research methodology. It is called qualitative purposive sampling. Means it is only some few numbers, but who are ready to talk. And then I am a member of Sathi. My NGO is a member of Jan Swasthya Abhiyan from Maharashtra, from India, People Health Movement, and through that network also I reached to many other doctors. And so I collected interviews from, so that is the question of why you. Now I will come up with how I conducted the interview and my experiences while I was interviewing. It was a very funny experience, in a sense very frustrating but very refreshing. Actually it was not frustrating for me. Actually it lifted my cynicism and skepticism and frustration and I said, come on, I was not alone. I was not alone. These are all doctors along with whom they were in different cities, in the different specialities. They are also suffocating. So it was a relief for me. I am not that some mad query, some crazy and person who had unrealistically perceiving the thing that they are, because that was a doubt in my mind. It was wiped out. And then I reached again and we made 9 questions about what is your opinion about the practice, what is your opinion about the pharmaceutical. It's a very structured question, so that person can pick only focus. And then I took the informed consent. I have voice recorded all the interviews. Just because we have to be doubly sure that nobody can question this study. Because the nature of the book is such an explosive that there were bound to be accusations. But then we took and that we have written in the book, what is the methodology. So no query has come about the authenticity of the book. And then we made a transcription and then we made a detailed analysis. And then the book came. Now here I want to let you know that I am getting applause for writing a brave book. I am not an author of that book. Author of the book are 78 brave doctors across India. So they are real authors. I am their only representative. I facilitated the process, but they are the authors. And we categorize everything. And to my great surprise, 35 doctors out of 78 doctors have given consent to reveal their name. And there were few young people who were after me to reveal their name, and at least 5 or 7 persons I blocked. I told them that don't do it. You are courageous, but you are over courageous, don't do it. You are at 40 years of age, you are still 30 more, 25 years more, so don't go into it. And actually I have to plead to them that you have given me consent, but I am not going to write, because I wanted to protect it. But this was the great experience. And I went from the small general practitioner, BHMS, BMS practitioner in a small town to super specialist in corporate hospital. I covered every specialty, and I covered Mumbai, Chennai, Bangalore, Kolkata, Delhi, Pune, and Nashik and Alibag and some cities in Maharashtra. So it was a very widely spread sample. And then I came out with this interview. And I will tell you, what my biggest surprise was, see, those people whom I knew for years, definitely I was not surprised that they opened their heart to me. They were talking the same thing for years. So it was not a surprise. But I am taking the name of the person, Dr. Gautam Mistry, because he has agreed to reveal the name. He is a physician in Kolkata, and there were 70-80 people waiting in the OPD, and I went and I was feeling so guilty that this doctor is giving so much of time to me and not to the patient, but he said nothing doing. My patients will have faith in me, they will come tomorrow. But I have first and the last opportunity to say what I have in my heart, and he spoke for 2 hours. And it was a fantastic testimony of him. I will now start describing what he spoke. He is a cardiologist. He's a super specialist. He's from middle class. On merit, he went to PGI Chandigarh. He's the finest possible intelligent person in medical field should boast about. And he joined the public healthcare system. What did they do? They spoiled him, or they asked him to conduct daily OPD with all those diarrhea and cough and all. See how public health system is killing the medical health practice. Public health system should have treasured him, should have caught him, should have made a special instrument for him, hospital for him. And nothing done. It's a babu type, pura bureaucratic. If you are a medical officer, you are a medical officer. You have to do the post-mortem. So naturally within 2-3 months, 4 months he left. So one opportunity lost by India. He was pushed into private practice. He was not wanting to do private. So that is number one. His frustration. Number two, he is a middle class person. He can't even build a small hospital. Forget about ICU and all those super specialist hospitals. So he had to join a corporate hospital. And he joined. He toiled there for 7 years. And there were tears in his eyes when he said that the burden of guilt was building so high, I could not withstand and I left corporate. There were targets, there were unethical practices, the pressure, he was an employee, he had to go along with it. And he said daily, I got frustrated, and now he is one of the finest cardiologists who is doing outpatient department. He is only consulting. No doubt he has 700 patients per day, but he has pain in his heart. He is one of the best, finest brain in India who can be very useful in ICU to save a very critical condition. He can be a very good, very super specialist skill who can do angioplasty. But because of this structure of private healthcare, he is on the road. He has to do away that part of his knowledge and only restrict to OPD. But he said that Arun, yes, I have that pain, but I am still far better here and happier here than the corporate. What he has said is the crux of my book. Patients are not only the victims. They are not only the people who are suffering because of the distorted nature of private practice and even public healthcare system. Though this book is on the private healthcare, public healthcare system is not different. Everything is mixed. One is affecting another. So though the book is on the private sector, because public healthcare system anybody can open, it is open. So anybody can criticize. But private was a closed wall. So that breach we had done, but the rot is Indian medical care in India has become so rotten in every sphere that Gautam Mistris are useless for the society. Now we are always blaming our children when they go to US and UK. I had a long fight with my friend who had went to US because I always alleged them that aap deshadrohi ho. You are learning everything from here. Government and society is spending so much on you, and you are going to give the benefit to the other nations. But now what? Gautam Mistri is internal brain drain. Not out of his bond, but because of our system, because of the way we function as a medical care. So that is the crux. Now what are the surprises, or the one more question from the journalist was, what were the surprises that came to you because of this book? I said I had no surprises because I knew everything. But yes, readers will have surprises, but I doubt whether we can call that as a surprises or whether we can call it as a authentication. Because there is a doubt. All intellectual people are wise. They know, they can understand what is going on. but exact nature of malpractices might not be actually known. Now we are categorized the malpractices in many areas. I will go along with the categories. Just a small examples so that you will understand what the book is about. Now what are the malpractices? Now I will give personal example that is not in this book. See, in every week, at least 1 or 2 patients I have to counsel who had come to me for the second opinion about hysterectomy. 99% of the patients never required hysterectomy. Never required. And I had to really counsel them for hours. And my sadness was that even after counseling, the commercial pressure is so high, the fear instilled about the cancer is so high by the other person who is commercial, and you want to exploit the fear for the commercial practices, that I was not successful at all more than 20%. That was my frustration. This is what has happened. Again I am enriched by my experience with channels, because one channel person commented on these experiences that, हाँ डॉक्टर बराबर है, we are also thriving on the same. मैं बोला क्या आप क्या thriving कर रहे हो? बोला कि हम मीडिया वाले भी वही पहचानते हैं, उसी पे ऊपर है कि डर बिकता है, fear is sold, डर बिकता है. I have seen first hand how डर बिका. Hysterectomies, unnecessary hysterectomy. Just like tonsillectomies in 1950s or 1960s, hysterectomies are now, and I jokingly, I wrote an article in Marathi newspaper that epidemic of hysterectomy. I mean epidemic of flu, we can understand. And all these are called iatrogenic. We have the term in medical field, iatrogenic diseases. Means the diseases which have caused as a doctor. It may be true science, it may be untrue, and it may be commercial. So these iatrogenic epidemics are now angioplasty are this epidemic. So everything is epidemic, everything is inflated, because everything, and there is I will come to that part later, but there is a medical consumerism. So these are all multifaceted aspects. Now one more criticism I am facing, that come on now, after this lecture, everybody of you will be suspicious for the doctor. After reading, every person is going to have suspicion. Means I was, the study was this study, means what I found. That is the first part of the book, English book. When we approach, Marathi publisher published the first part. But when we approach Penguin, the chief editor Meru Gokhale, she called me and she said, Dr. Gadre, I am not going to publish these horror stories. Penguin is not for that. She suggested that also write something about what is the solution. So in my group, my medical group, my classmates, they are बहुत सारे गाली पड़ रहे हैं, and funnily and surprisingly and correctly also. Who are criticizing me? The ethical slot of those doctors. The crooks are not looking to this book. They know the tide will come, they will go down, everything will be as it was before. So they are not bothered. But the ethical doctors are getting fearful. They say, Arun, because of your book, because you are generalizing the statements, and readers will take and can take that as a generalization. But then a quote comes to my rescue. One of the doctor friend of mine, he is a senior physician in Alibag, Dr. George Matai. He has given his name to be revealed. He has given a quote that when you come out with some malpractices in medical field, the medical association jump on you and they say, come on, just like Ajay has told, everywhere there is a problem. And in every profession, there are few black sheep. George said that associations claim that there are few black sheep. Why you are so making halla gulla? George has told that I will tell them that nowadays a microscope is required to search for a white sheep. So I am not telling you. One of the friend who is a physician who has seen 40 years of practice, who was absolutely ethical, and he has seen the degeneration above, and that is my view also. I have seen a lot of people degenerating in last 30 years. They were ethical. One medical representative told me that, sir, do you know, the doctor is very ethical up to 40, 45. And at 45 he changes. I was so surprised. Means at 45, after 20 years of practice, he does not have generally reason to change. Because he has a solid practice. He said, yes sir, there is a reason. I said, what it is? He said, now his son or daughter is to get admission into private medical college. I meet lot of doctors and doctors angrily retort to me, why are you blaming us? When the society is allowing private medical colleges to run amok, now 50% of medical colleges are private, with donations and 4 crore rupees and 2 crore rupees and 3 crore rupees. Dr. Arjun Rajagopalan in the book has said that private medical colleges are charging 4 crore rupees for radiology. Now it is no wonder that radiologist will come out, will try to recover that money. So my question from the doctor comes that in this society, my son, my daughter will get affected if I don't earn enough. My 2 daughters have were in the Lassalgaon school of free education, Marathi medium. One excelled in MTech IIT and another who is now lawyer and CS. But then this courage to face the reality, and I told my daughter that I don't have money for any private institution. Forget medical. You have to do hard work and do whatever you do in the life. But then this moral stand only few people can take, and people succumb under the pressure. The corporate hospitals are growing. Gautam Mistris are suffering under the pressure. So there are multiple areas which are encroaching. And one young pathologist told me, the commission practice is one of the menace which has come very beautifully in this book. He has said that, sir, I met 150 doctors and only 3 are referring patients to me because I don't give commission. Now, he further told me, that is not in the book, he told me that he can sustain it for 1 year because he has some other means of resource. खाने पीने के लिए उसको जरूरी नहीं है पैथोलॉजी. That's why he could sustain. But what about a middle class person who has spent so many years of his life? By the time he comes into business, he is 29. He is just married and now no money. So what is it? How are we going to preach morality to younger generation? We can't. Those days are out. We are that last generation endangered species now. After 15-20 years, there will be no doctors around who are ethical, because there cannot be doctors around. There will be multi-speciality chains and corporate hospitals and total business. That I will come to later. But the malpractices commission is very horribly. Dr. Hemant Kotwal, he is my classmate. He is in Nashik, a top radiologist, ethical practitioner. He gave me a quote. He said, Arun, what can I do? I have stopped up to this level. Actually speaking, after reaching this height, I should invest more and give more facilities to the patient. That is moral obligation on me as a doctor, as a radiologist. But I can't do it, because then I will have to spend 50 lakhs, 1 crore, and then I will have to enter into commission practice. So I have taken a stop. Is it not a loss to the society? Is it not a loss? It is loss. when multi-speciality and corporate are pumping crores of money and having superior technologies, and they are flashing it, and they are attracting people, and they are also generating revenue, the ethical doctors are bound by all these practices and they can't march ahead. Gautam Mistry has to leave, Hemant Kotwal has to stop, and the further generation is not entering into medical field. Now my teacher, the teacher friends in medical colleges tell me, Arun, the days have changed. The new generation which is joining medical field is only talking about the business and the money. There are no role models, there are no aspirations, moral aspirations. I am not condemning them. I am just pointing out the reality, because these types of, and even I and my wife, see, we loved our profession. We devoted our life for that. And when my daughters opted for not to go to medicine, ours was the happiest couple in the world. A very great paradox. I know many of my friends who push their children not to come into medicine. They have big hospitals. They have settled practice. But one of my orthopedic friends told me, Arun, I don't believe that my practice will be transferred to my son. No. My practice is now getting away from me, and within there are only matter of few years when only corporate and multi-speciality hospitals will practice. So when my son decided not to go to an IT industry, I was very happy. So this is the situation which has come. These are the malpractices. There are other malpractices. Now I come to what you can understand, means middle class, and now what has happened, middle class has flowing money with the insurance and IT sector, lot of money getting flush. And there is a medical consumerism. Two ophthalmologists I interviewed told me, we get at least 2 to 3 patients per week, old patients, who have been advised for cataract by some other ophthalmologist or the big chain of ophthalmology, corporate chain, or even the individual, that they are advised to go for cataract surgery. And fortunately for them, they have come to this ethical doctor. And he said that we advise them that you don't have cataract. You require only number is changed. And both were telling me, Abhay, they don't believe us. They think that this doctor is something problem. Means they are still sticking to their ethical line, but they see the suspicion in the patient's mind. Of course, they counsel, and fortunately for them, and cataract is a very small business, so people can wait. So, success rate of counseling is much more than hysterectomy, because hysterectomy, the fear of death due to cancer has been instilled. Here the cataract is just a few minutes. आज करेंगे तो नहीं तो कल करेंगे. But then this is the situation. See, the unindicated, this is unindicated, actually totally unindicated. And why it is happening? Because I tell you, the people are pointing in this book to the insurance. See, in Pune, cataract is 30,000 to 50,000, and that is covered by insurance. So nobody bothers. They believe blindly in the ophthalmology. And the surgery has now become very less. There are no dangers in surgery. Superfine instruments have come, so their complication rate is much lesser. So what must be that old man saying to another old man? So what a great doctor he is. अरे क्या diagnosis किया, और बाद में within 20 minutes, 2 hours I left the hospital, and the third day vision was perfect. But then is it true? Did he require? Similarly, the Caesar, now that is my branch, Gynaec. My cesarean rate was around 8%, and I practiced more for obstructed cases. But in Pune city, one of the doctors, Dr. Shirish Patwardhan, he is a Foxy vice president of Federation of Obstetric Gynaec Society. He gave the interview with the name to be revealed. He said, Arun, I have asked for the under RTI, I asked the caesarean rate of hospitals in Pune and Pimpri Chinchwad. Now Pimpri Chinchwad is a sister city of Pune. Pune is a mega city. Pimpri Chinchwad is also mega, but now they are little far ahead. So in Pune, the caesarean rate is 50%. 50%, 50. It's a year. Okay. So everybody is now competing. That is bound to be happening. Now globalization. So from Pune to Hyderabad is not much distance. But then it is happening. And Pimpri Chinchwad has 25%. And he has very funnily given a recommendation. He said that Arun, I would like to have a transparency. Let every gynec hospital make it compulsory to display the board about the seizure rate it has. So the person who wants seizure will go to the doctor where the seizure rate is 100%. And the person who does not want seizure will go to some hospital which is 10%. But it's all funny. There are a lot of things. I am a gynecologist, so I know even the patient force doctors to do for cesarean. That is another story. We will, in the last part of my lecture, I will concentrate on that. But these are the malpractices happening. And the cardiologist, 3 or 4 cardiologists told me the same story. Gautam Mistry, one more senior cardiologist and one more senior cardiologist. They told me that one senior cardiologist told me that he is very senior. He is 2-3 years more senior than me and he has a well-established name and the corporate hospitals want to use that name. So they will never touch him. And he goes according to books. Now when the cardiologist goes according to book, if you and me go to his office with a chest pain or BP or whatever, cardiac complaint, related complaint, the conversion rate, they are now calling it a business term, conversion rate. That was a surprise to me. I was not knowing that conversion rate terminology. But then conversion rate is, we never thought it is conversion rate, but we thought it is epidemiology. Out of 100 patients in the OPD, 15 people will require angioplasty or bypass or whatever. So it is 15%. So my senior colleague, senior cardiologist friend is only doing 15% of angioplasty in that particular corporate hospital. But his young person who has just recently passed and joined comes to this senior person for a guidance. He says, sir, you are a phenomenon, so nobody will touch you. But I am newly entrant, now I am hardly 6 months into the practice. They offer a very high salary, 4 lakh rupees per month. But yesterday the CEO, who is a MBA, some Ahmedabad, whatever, the finance person, young chap, 30 years, dashing, his only business, his only target is increased revenue. That's all. So he calls this person and gives a warning. Come on, you are only doing 10 to 15% of conversion. Unless you increase the rate of conversion to 40%, you will be driven out of the hospital and I will see that you will not get admitted anywhere else. He asked, the junior person asked senior person, sir, what can I do? Now my friend has no answer. No answer. He says, I could succeed with that particular time period. It is your call, but then sadly the young chap says that, sir, if I go out, I can't earn my money. I can't earn my food. So I have to succumb to this 40% pressure. So this target for conversion is a universal phenomenon in corporate hospital. And I don't only blame corporate hospital. No. They are not something like villain and all other are sent. It is not like that. Everybody is going after this conversion rate and everybody is trying tricks. One of the example in my branch, one person, one of my publisher in Marathi, his daughter-in-law was having a pregnancy and 7 months old, 7 months pregnant, and I was in Delhi for some reason. I am not her gynecologist. She has chosen some gynecologist, and I don't advise now. I don't practice, but I am like a second opinion. So she went to that doctor with some pain in abdomen. 7 months complete. Two more months to go. And the doctor, she goes at around 7 o'clock in the evening, and the doctor does sonography. And sonography, he reads the sonography report and tells that girl, you have to get admitted right now and get stitch over the cervix, otherwise the fetus get aborted. Now, dar bikta hai. Now I understand, because of that channel person. I am really grateful to him. Dar bikta hai. So she was frightened. No, nowadays people take only one chance, and if that is lost, means, and that they have enough money, so nothing. But before she got admitted, a better sense prevailed and she rang me. I was in Delhi, just hearing the history, I started laughing. I said, come on, you don't need anything. But I am in Delhi, and I am anyway in Pune, I would not have examined you. So go to my friend, who is very ethical, and have a second opinion. Fortunately, she listened to me. She went to my friend. She also started laughing. She said, sonography is also not required. She examined her. Sonography is also not required. But since that person has, and mind you, that person, that doctor was so furious with the couple when they did not get admitted, he did not even give the sonography report because that was falsified. Another sonography was done. The cervical length was normal. No stitch was required. She had a full-term normal delivery. So these are the different ways. Now, what can we learn from it? Don't look to every doctor with the suspicion. Because even my friend will tell you, I will tell you that you require cervical touch. So there are conditions. These are all so areas where patient cannot have any information, and there are possibilities. But then the person who pushes you, वो जो डर बिकता है, अगर डर है, then be aware. So these are the. Then another area is the pharmaceutical. How many minutes? Because I was to stop for 40 minutes. Okay. So few more. So pharmaceutical company are another menace. Literally menace. And they are so tempting. One particular person has given me interview, a senior pediatrician from a big town in Maharashtra. He said, when I started practice 30 years back, for first 20 years, we had in Indian Medical Association of that city was to use to organize lectures from different specialties. And they contributed themselves. How much money is required for a dinner? And even for the liquor? Not much. Not much. Doctor's earn much lot. He can spend 4,000 rupees at a day, any time. But then, these 20 years, they collected money and had a choice of their lecturer and the topic also. And they conducted it. But with the democratic decision of majority, the town decided that hereafter, only pharmaceuticals will sponsor the continuous medical education. They changed. In a day, he resigned from the IMA president because he had because he was outvoted. And that day, and now whatever the Medical Council of India says, whatever is the rule, is the most important institution in the world. It has done nothing. We are in the process of raising National Network of Indian Doctors for Ethical Practice. We have 133 members now, and we had a big on 4th May, we made a Delhi workshop and we demanded that Medical Council of India should be scrapped. Joint Parliamentary Committee meeting, Jairam Ramesh is one of the key person who was in this joint committee. They have recommended that this Medical Council of India should be scrapped because they have not done anything. They are only looking to the corruption in the private medical college. That corruption has bought Medical Council of India and it has done nothing to enforce ethics. So it has ruled that pharmaceutical should not, but there are ways. One of the surgeons told me that in that city they decided, the surgical conference, they decided not to have any pharmaceutical sponsorship. He is very ethical friend of mine and they pushed for it. And the doctors agreed, the surgeons agreed and they did not, they contributed. But then in that sense they thought that they should have enough hotel rooms available for 700, 800 people coming across from India. He said we negotiated with the hotels and whatnot, means rate kam kar diya, sab kar diya. To his greatest surprise, no request for hotel booking came, that came only from 15 to 20% of the doctors. 80% doctors were sponsored by pharmaceuticals. One of the doctors, gynecologist, Dr. Sanjeev Mukhopadhyay in the book, has said, he is practicing in Kolkata, he said that he was some office bearer of Federation of Gynec Society and he said in the conference that those who have come with the pharmaceutical sponsorship should wear the tie of that pharmaceutical company. Means why are you coy about it? Why you are shy about it? At least we will come to know who has not taken the sponsorship. But it is that problem. The pharmaceutical companies are full. Now I share one experience. It is in the book. The senior cardiologist, he had never given any costly medicine. And whenever patient comes for second opinion, and the medicines are good, that particular doctor has given correct medicine, diagnosed correctly. But what he says, that doctor is right, he has diagnosed correctly, he has given treatment correctly, but can I change your medicine to some good other counterpart so that your expenses will be 25% of what now? Because there are a range of price from 5 rupees to 35 rupees, from 5 rupees to 50 rupees, a tablet, a capsule. So if a patient is lifelong drug, every day 35 rupees counts a lot. And then how and why these doctors prescribe this? Because of the incentive. And there are some funny occurrences happened in some cities, which I know, I will not name the city, but I know one of the friends, that is not in the book, that one general practitioner agreed to raise the sale of particular drug by 3 times in 6 months, and they gave him free commission, some money in advance. In the sense, they asked him to buy a car, and the EMI was given by the pharmaceutical company. But when they found, they warned him, and he had no capacity basically. Intention was right, but there was no capacity. Intention was there to increase the sale. But when there are no patients, how can he increase the sale? So he could not. And then on 7th month, the bodyguards of that company pulled him out of the car, took the chavi and take the car away. These are the funny stories happening. They are actually a very means that you have to keep in mind that a person might be under the pressure of the pharmaceutical. And one more, Dr. Vijay Adgavkar had told me, it is in the book, he said he is a diabetologist, topmost diabetologist in Mumbai. He said, I get cases where there is no diabetes and the physician and pathologist are hand in hand and diabetic report is given, blood sugar. My blood sugar is 110 and 70 but then the report says that it is 130, 140 and 105. Then he goes to the physician, starts it on the some treatment, I don't know what treatment, because for a normal person if you give anti-diabetic drug, then he will get hypoglycemia. But some treatment, but I asked sir, but why? He said, come on, once labeled as a diabetes, once labeled as a hypertension, for entire life you are in the pharmaceutical and doctor's hand. One doctor who is a public health person told me, I don't know whether I have entered that into book or not, I don't remember, because it is very, he said, he is a very topmost public health expert in India. And he told me that even the textbooks are now monitored or changed under the influence of pharmaceuticals. Now everything from WHO to even CDC of US, which was what we can say a reference point, they are being funded by multinationals. And now everything, even the textbook. So if the textbooks are screwed, the levels are, suppose today is the hypertension is 140 by 90, and tomorrow you may not be surprised to see that 130 by 80 is the picture. Now if it is in the books, it will be ethical practice. ये को झंझट करने की जरूरत ही नहीं. Millions of patients will be their customers. So these are the ways the entire global pharmaceutical workers working. Clinical trials I have not taken here because I have not made that doctor, but we as a General Practitioner Abhay, our colleague Amulya Nidhi has fought in Supreme Court against clinical trial. Whenever you are offered any clinical trial, be suspicious. There might be good clinical trial and there might be bad clinical. Hundreds of patients have died in clinical trial in Madhya Pradesh because in India, हमारा सब जुगाड़ है. There are no rules, there are no regulations. There are no regulations for intravenous IVF. There are no regulations for surrogacy. Now they are coming. There are no regulations for stem cell. I have written a very explosive article on stem cell preservation. It is the biggest बाजार. उधर आशा बिकती है, इधर डर बिकता है, वहाँ आशा बिकती है. I ended the article with the comment that you should know that these are all feka-feki right at now. Tomorrow I can't say, and they are preserving it for 21 years. But lot of issues I wrote, but I said that if you want to buy a plot on the moon, if you are ready to buy the plot on the moon right now, you can go and preserve your stem cell. But you should understand. But I have seen, I was sitting, one of my friend's daughter got delivered and I was in that hospital to support her. My friend was in the outstation. मेरे सामने the salesperson so beautifully convinced her husband that my entire article was away and he paid. और वो क्या बोला, काका चाचा मैं तो बिल्कुल ठीक sheepishly tell, I know I have read your article in front of me and my friend's daughter, but I was so amazingly looking at that sales manager, beautiful. He could have convinced me also. But how great, and again डर दिखता है, उसमें भी है. How he will convince? He will dramatically suppose your 21-year-old son in IIT suffers an accident and becomes a paraplegic. If you don't preserve the stem cell, he will be paraplegic for his life. If you preserve the stem cell, there is a chance the technology will develop and that stem cells will be used. Alright? Even I would have got. Problem is extra money because that person has got money. He is an IT person. Everything has combined. And what we can say, in Marathi we call it Sarasar Vivek Buddhi, means to discern good from the bad, we have lost. We have become consumers. The salesman has become salesman. So that is one thing. So pharmaceutical industry. Corporate industry, I told the target is there. The target is for everything. MRI, pathology, everything. One last thing malpractice I will tell you, and I will end that malpractice subject because of the want of time, because there are so many, you should read in the book. But there is something called Shin test. One of my dear friend, pathologist, told me that Arun, what can I do? I give commission. Pathologists are 100% pathologists, radiologists, dependent branches. They have to enter into commission. Otherwise they can't survive. Few might be exception. He said, I am not exception. I am giving cut. So physician asked me, now there is a code language between them in the way they write the prescription, that do hemogram, do liver function test, do kidney function test, XYZ. He writes in such a way, there is a code language. Out of 10 tests, 3 are required. And that 3 tests, my friend will do very meticulously and give the correct report. But 7 are not required, and that he knows by some code language. So what he will do, whatever material blood is collected for the 7 level, he will pour in the sink. उसका भी पैसा बचा ना, उसका भी पैसा बचा, पैसा तो पूरा लिया, patient has paid full, and then they will share the money. This is also happening. So everywhere it is a rot. And I will come back again to my criticism from ethical doctors, that hereafter you will suspect me also. And that I agree, I invite. I tell you that you look to with suspicion to me also. Because nobody is immune from this temptation. Nobody has. Everybody is a sinner in that way. Nobody is, I can observe that no potential. What motivation, at what point, whether the ladka abhi medical ko ja raha hai, n number. But there is a tremendous, I have seen people falling in between. Even having good practice, temptations are temptations. So we have to be guarded, we have to have at least second opinion. In this book, we have given how to identify rational ethical doctrine. Some indication, and generally if you take it in combined, you will not go wrong. Mostly 80% you will be correct. So that is also, in the second part, is also important as what I am telling, but that is not the subject of my talk today. You might invite my colleague who has written this second part. I might also join him with him, but he will also talk about the solution beautifully. But these are the see, this is like HIV. I worked in HIV field, I worked in sex workers and homosexuals. And I know the typical first reaction, human reaction for HIV or even cancer or whatever grave disease is a denial. First said that, no, there must be something wrong. So now this book has done a job that it has brought out the medical section from denial to reality. Now only the debate is about the percentage, and I said I don't go by percentage, because if I meet that doctor, that is 100% for me. If the doctor is cheater, that is 100% for me. So people have to awaken. And lastly, the doctors told me, which is also important, about the policies and the medical consumerism. As I told you, people don't bother. They just buy anything. And one of the most important problems today doctors face is that people demand that nobody should die. Means medical practice is a very, very slippery road. No guarantee. But when you are treating it like a commodity, like a soap, naturally the aspirations and demand from the patients are unrealistic. And there is a tendency in mind. The more you pay, the more good treatment you will get. That you have to ask yourself. Because there are n number of examples there. One small example. The pediatrician in a big town, a tribal person comes to him with a child and he examines. He says, because he is a tribal, means he is a rational doctor, but he goes extra cautious for this person who has no money. And he says, you don't have to do anything. Just took this syrup, 2 to 3 days and some dye, and the patient will be all right. Baby was around 2-3 months old, 3-year-old, not exactly 6 months. So toddler who is playing around, means that baby was playing around as a patient. So you can imagine how serious it is. Not much serious, some small element. To his great surprise, the same patient comes with the same baby with a sonography report in his. Sir, why? I did not ask you. He said, no, but I thought that अच्छा कुछ आया है तो better be on the safer side. So he approached some another general practitioner. He has got sonography there, and because he has the faith in this doctor, he brought that sonography. Okay, now what can this my poor fellow will do? If this is a poisoning of consumerism, and what very paradoxical things have happened. The tribal people, the rural people, the weaker section, the old, they have real ailments, but they have no access to medical care. And the IT people have so much access to medical care that they are getting medical care which is not required. So it is a paradox. So everything is sold. So this is the vast range of malpractices happening, and everybody is party to it. Doctors are party, the policy makers are the biggest blame goes to the policy maker, government. In last 30 years, they have heavily poured their belief in the private sector. And I am asking government policy makers, how can, there is one example. In Andhra, Arogyasri was beginning, that was a public-private partnership in the tertiary care in Andhra. It began here. And then it came to Maharashtra as a Rajiv Gandhi Yojana. And it is a tertiary care Yojana where angioplasty for a poor person will be, totally expenses will be borne by the state. Now it is a very paradoxical thing. When that poor old man goes to the PSC, there are no antihypertensive drugs. So he pulls on. Then he starts getting angina. He goes to rural hospital. Rural hospital have no anti-angina drug. So he still pulls on. Now poor chap gets infarction, which could have been better avoided. Now the state says, okay, come on now. We will take you to the posh small hospital and treat you in Takashak karke bhej deंगे. And this is absolutely adverse policy. And one doctor has given me a proof. He said he knows one patient. Actually, he is not patient. He did not suffer from anything, but he was given some money, made a cardiac patient. All reports were prepared for angioplasty. The hospital exploited government, कुछ पैसा उसको भी दे दिया. So unaccountable private sector which is greedy only after profit, how can a tax money earned by you and me can be given uncontrolled, unregulated? I am not saying that I am against private sector. I have worked in private sector for my life. But there has to be now a rethinking about how we do. The regulations have to be there. The self-regulation has to be. A lot of things are required to be done. Blind faith in private sector is not a good policy at all. That is what my book is saying with the examples. So these are all the parameters are working. There are so many in the book. I have talked, I think, more than what I am supposed to talk. More time I took. But these are the vast spectrum. And now I will end with just one point, 1 or 2 points. I am not going to talk about the remedies because that will give 2-3 more hours. But what I said is, why we have landed it? Why we have landed here? So डर बिकता है क्यों है? Because medical, why Hippocrates oath? Now, as Ajay told, he, even doctors ask me, Dr. Asgaonkar has given beautiful reply. Doctors ask him angrily, why you don't cross builder who is doing lot of mischief. Dr. Asgaonkar said, then you should become a builder, not a doctor. But that is not a very convincing statement, because people have become doctors and they are pushed into all these complexes. Problem in medical care is this. There is always a information asymmetry and power asymmetry in the relationship between the patient and the doctor. It will never end. Never end. This type of power asymmetry is nowhere else. Nobody can push me to buy a car. If I don't have money, I will not buy a car. I will not buy a car and go under the poverty line. But for medical practice, these are needs of life and death needs of every citizen of India. So you cannot avoid it. Second thing, there is an information asymmetry. When my angioplasty occurred, I had no proper information about angioplasty. I am like you, little more, 10% more, because I am a gynecologist. What I did, I had no information. So there is a asymmetry of information, and that is the common factor in any service, whether you go for account, whether you go for anything. But second thing is the power asymmetry, which is the highest in medical, because it deals with life and death. Even if the top industrialist or the toughest possible politician, if he gets angina and he is a cardiologist, he gives all power to decide to me. And that's why the Hippocrates oath makes it compulsory for me to think on behalf of the patient. That was done 20-30 years back. And now medical profession is not a unique profession. It is coming from the same land, from the same culture, from the same moral of the society. But what I am sadly sad, because it is the last bastion of the society which is now getting demoralized. That is a grave indicator, grave indicator. Medical profession will fight up to last to keep the morality intact. If it has gone, that means the last pillar has fallen. So this book is a very, not only against the medical practice, malpractices, it also is an indicator, a marker of how the society has degenerated. So we have to think of all. And now last point, here I will quote only one of the greatest quote from Dr. Paul Farmer. He is one of the noted public health experts in the world. He is a HIV, he worked in the HIV and he worked in Haiti, and one of the most honored. He has given a beautiful quote which summarizes the direction of this lecture today. He says, we as a society have come on the crossroad. Now there is no other alternative to take the decision. And the decision, what decision we have to take? We have to take the decision whether healthcare is a commodity to be sold or a social right. It cannot be both as of today. You cannot. Even if you take by majority the decision that it is to be commodity, then don't invite me for the lecture and don't read the book. But then if you decide that it is a social, you mean Indian people, social reality, social right, then we have to really upturn the model of healthcare which is being delivered in India. That is my last statement, because how and what that model could be is a very important subject to be discussed separately. But yes, as Dr. Paul Farmer says, you and me are at the crossroad. We all have to decide, and I am in the on that line of decision that healthcare should not be a commodity to be sold and bought. It should be a social right. And in this oration, and after this book has come out, it is my mission that I will promote my school of thought that please join me to make it as a social right. And if everybody awakes, everybody joins, we are in democracy, we can do it. Thank you.